We're talking about money for the next little while, and I get to do talk number 2 about it. I've had Leslie, junior youth, get out of here. Junior youth, go. Grade 6 to 10. We love you, but see ya. If you're in grade 6, if you're in grade 7, 8, 9, or 10, head out all the doors. And if you don't have a seat, you're welcome. There's a lot now. So I may be younger than some of you here, maybe older than some of you, but I may not have as many years of experience with money. So I won't claim that I am a money expert, but I am going to speak from the Bible, and that's going to speak to all of us. And I hope that we can all be encouraged in what God can do through our finances and what he wants to do in our hearts. And I'm going to speak on that. I'm not going to do any money counseling and any charts or graphs or anything like that. There's professionals, and you can pay a lot of money per hour to those people. I'm not one of those. Matthew 6:22 to verse 23 says this. This is Jesus. He's just finished a little talk about money. And then he says, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? It's a bit of a strong passage here, talking about material things and what we can focus on, what we can covet or desire or want or even become greedy for. Jesus is highlighting this material wealth that we can begin to desire and how dangerous that can be. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not want my life to be full of darkness. Can we just agree on one thing before we get started? Are we all on the same page so far? We all don't maybe want that. Great. I had a couple hands, so those 4 or 5 of us, let's keep going together. The rest of you, I'll just let you catch up as the caffeine hits you slowly. I want us to think about what we are looking at in terms of material things, or what we are desiring, what we are wanting more of, what even you could say, I feel there might be a little bit of greed in my life for acquiring more things. If your life is always about gaining more, then this message is for you. If you feel consumed by money recently, doesn't matter how much you make or how little you make, if you feel your life is driven by this one thing, maybe you should listen up just a little bit. We all, in some little ways, unfortunately, are driven by money because we go to work. And why do you work? Well, it's good to get a paycheck, right? Yeah. Let's be honest. Yeah, there's a couple of us. Why do the rest of you work? We're a bit silent. For fun, great. I'm jealous of that. I have fun too, but it's nice to get paid. But an element of what Jesus is talking about here is he's highlighting, are we content or not? Are we content with what we have, or are we always looking at and desiring more in terms of material wealth? That's the trap. That's what he's trying to steer us away from. This is a lot harder, to be content where you're at, because you may be thinking, well, I'm in a tax bracket that I need to get out of. I need to get to another one. My salary, I need to double that. This car, I need another better one. It's got this issue. Whatever it is for you, we can always get to a place of thinking, well, if I had this, it'd be a little better. And then it leads us away from being content in who God is and what he's given us and the blessings we can receive from him and the promises he gives and what he says in his word. That's the danger of not being content and coveting other things. Now, this isn't a message of saying nice things are bad. And at the end of the day, we're not going to all bring up our most expensive items and bring them to the front and say, I'm free. And then, well, who takes those? I don't know. We're not going to do that. Don't worry. It's not about It's not bad to have nice things. I love nice things. Like when I go to a coffee shop, I usually get a mocha, and it's the most expensive drink on that menu. I'm shameless, sure. Hate me for it. I like a nice mocha, great. You can like nice cars, that's awesome. I asked my wife once, it's good to know your spouse, and I said, well, what's your favorite cars? And then, because it's good to know, because in case one day you might want to acquire that item for them, right? As a good husband, maybe I'm just storing up information like that. And well, she said, well, this is her, just right away. She said, love the Mercedes G-Wagon and then the Range Rover. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, great cars, absolutely great cars. And I was like, you do know I'm a youth pastor. And I didn't get into the youth pastor game. I don't to have a six-figure salary plus and to be getting multiple car garages for our 4 different colored G-Wagons. But G-Wagons are great, and there's nothing wrong with having them. But unless our heart is in the wrong place, unless it becomes about those items and we're not content with who God is in the place that He's called us to and what He's given us, and we start wanting more. I was flying with Ben recently because when we get in this trap of wanting or coveting more, we're never content with less. So when you find yourself in a place in less, it's like you're done. And you can't get past that. So when I was flying to Mongolia with some of you know him, Ben, a good friend of mine, Ben he's got into a trap and he knows it. And he says it. So Ben has a certain status when he flies because he's acquired enough mileage. So when he flies, he always flies economy plus. And he always gets lounge access. So when someone's going to get a bump on that flight, it's probably going to be anyone with that card, the 75K card, and they're going to get not like $1,000 of money, but how many kilometers you're flying per year, and he's going to get maybe bumped to business class. And he's like, and so when I was flying with him, I don't have that status. And he was disappointed because because we were traveling together, he had to then fly economy. So tough, right? So he was, and he talks very comfortably around me because we're good friends. And I stopped him. He brought it up 2 times with me how this was a hardship. I'm not joking. He's like, well, I got to change my flights and I'm going to be flying with you in economy and I might not get the miles for this trip like I want to accumulate those yearly miles to keep getting that status. And after the second time he brought it up, I was like, who do you think you are? Like, I'm sorry you've invited me to come on this trip with you. I'm sorry now I'm an inconvenience for your flight status. It's like, welcome to the peasants of economy. Oh my goodness. And he's like, it's literally, so I got to go into the lounge with him. I was like, wow, this is very nice. But he's like, this is why this is so bad, because now he's experienced, he can't go back. And it frustrated him to the core that he had to sit in an economy seat. I was like, I don't even know I'm glad I don't know what that's like. Because he's like, if you know, you don't want to go back. Now he can never be content with a certain traveling style. Poor, poor, poor Ben. It's a funny story, but I think when we get caught in wanting more material things that we think are going to make us feel better because we have the car we always wanted, we have the house, we have that salary, but in our heart, it never shifts. We're never content. Because I'll tell you, I have friends and they just got bumped in salaries. They got that new car. Did their money anxiety leave? No, it doesn't. It actually increases. Because then they want, we are making this. Well, maybe we can afford this now. Well, let's get this. And it just builds and builds because we desire, we covet, and then we never give Jesus a space in our heart just to settle our hearts, to be content in him. And this is not easy. It's not easy. And Lower Mainland makes it extra hard for us because we are a very driven population of people to acquire. There's a lot of nice cars around. There's a lot of nice houses around. There's a lot of people living in, maybe they're living great, and that's awesome for them, but then it can put pressure on, I must need that. I must have that in order to feel a certain way, and maybe then I could give, and then I could give back more. That's just a lie. And it doesn't get us anywhere. Philippians 4:11 says, I'm not saying this is Paul talking, I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I've learned to be content with whatever the circumstances. Have you gone through seasons of little and learned to be content with what you had, and that's okay? And if you haven't gone through a season like that, I would encourage you to find a way to make that happen. So then you can learn to be content in just Jesus, in just him, and not let material wealth and money drive you, because it doesn't get you anywhere. Have you ever been around people that are truly content with what they have? Like, material things mean nothing to them. And it doesn't matter if you have a lot or have little, you can be like this. Because I think we can't get in the trap of, you can't have nice things. You should be giving more away, so you should never get to a certain point where you have a certain amount of things that it should always be given away. We can't think like that. We can have a lot and still mean nothing to us and just love the place we're at with God. That's awesome. When you're around people that are truly content, A, it's really refreshing. B, it's really frustrating. Because it's like a mirror showing you where you're supposed to be at. You're like, oh man. I'll tell you an example. I have one of my closest friends, and he's like this with material things, and it inspires me. I'll give you an example of what he did to me in the last year. I went over to his house, and I'm quite close with him, so you know, like, you're good friends, you know when they get new things, like a new jacket, a new bag, new whatever, you notice. And my friend, I went over to his house, he got a new bag. And I kind of I don't know why, I like nice travel bags, like a nice workout gym bag, or a nice leather duffel bag. I'm like, that's awesome. They're very expensive usually. And he had a nice new travel bag, and I walked into his house, and I saw it, I'm like, bro, nice bag. That's awesome. Like, looks good. When did you get it? You know, just common friend questions, I quickly said. He's like, oh, I just got it, Brent. It's awesome. Hey, I'm like, what company is it? And he's like, it's here. You should have it, man. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's yours. I was like, if you want it, yeah, you can have it. I was like, well, I don't want it, but I do want it. Because it's your bag and you just got it. But all of a sudden, he just flipped it and was like, hey, you can have it. He's like, yeah, take it. I was like, but you just got it. And it's your bag, and you're excited. But he's like, yeah, I don't need it. I got some other ones. He doesn't have like a case full of brand new bags. It's not like one of these friends, oh yeah, I own the company, like take as many as you want. But he's like, yeah, have it. Do you know how refreshing that was and challenging was? Because I have stuff, and a lot of people compliment me about it, and I don't like, yeah, here, take it. A few months later, I was at his house again. And I also like socks. Like, I like nice socks. I like nice things. But that's not what this message is about. It's okay to like nice things. I love Jesus more, and I'm a good place in my heart. I'm learning to be. But socks, like a nice merino wool sock, are you kidding me? Like, it keeps you warm, and a nice pair of business socks is great. It's amazing. Walking, he has a new pair of socks, like in the packaging, and it's in the same place in his house. I'm like, great pair of socks, man. And it was almost like I was set up. And I'd forgotten about the bag issue, or the bag thing. And he goes, yeah, they're great, aren't they? I love this. I was like, you should have them. I was like, what are you doing to me, Lord? I got a pair of new socks. So I went over to his house the next week. He had this car. I said, new car? He's like, it's yours. So I got a new car. No, I didn't do that. That would be a great story, right? But that would be manipulation on my part, so I can't preach that. He had no material things, had no meaning. They're like dust to him. And I'm challenged and I'm inspired. There's people in this church that operate like that, and I am so inspired by them. And if you don't have people in your life like this, I think you should find people in your life like this, that they maybe have little or have a lot, but it doesn't matter. They're giving it away. They're always willing to give because they know it has no tie to them. It has no meaning in the long run. It's a dangerous game when we get in the trap of not being content and always wanting more and not settling in a bad way with what Jesus has for us and the promises he speaks over us and knowing that he desires to bless us and fill our lives with good things. It's a trap when we go that way. And I was thinking about this message. This is exactly what the Israelites started doing again and again and again. They were never content in their hearts with who God was, right? The Israelites. If you don't know, they just always were grumbling and complaining, and then even when they got to the promised land, have you noticed, even then they still saw other people groups and maybe their gods or their wives or husband, they wanted that, so then they went after it. They weren't content in their hearts with God. And what did that do with their relationship with God? Well, it didn't get them any further, I'll tell you that. It did not help at all. It actually really hindered it when they let their lack of contentment get in the way. Can I be so bold to say if you find yourself in a place where you're not content and you're always wanting more and you're desiring more material things, that maybe you've lost touch with who God is? Hey. Maybe you don't know God as well as you could. Or maybe you've forgotten the promises that he says in his word, and you need a reminder like the Israelites did. They got a lot of cool miracles we can read about in the Old Testament, and they still forgot. There's a great story, and a story you guys know, when the rich man comes to Jesus. You know this dynamic of the man approaching Jesus. How do I get in to the kingdom of heaven? They have this fascinating conversation. The man is listing out what he has done. He's lived in his mind a perfect life and acquired many things. Not in the wrong way. He's done well for himself. But that was his desire, was to acquire and to have. We'll pick it up in Matthew 19, verse 21. Jesus answered to him, "If you want to be perfect, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven." We know, we've maybe read this before. "And then come follow me." Verse 22, so sad this part. "When the young man heard this, he went away sad because he had great wealth." That's just an insight to him. He had acquired a lot, but he couldn't let it go. He was content in his stuff. And he always wanted more. So when Jesus said, hey, this is what you need to do, he couldn't do the first step. But the first step wasn't of the utmost importance. First, he needed to let go of the things that controlled his life, the money, the things. But then Jesus said, you have to follow me. And I think when we make the heart shift, it's a lot easier to then let go of things. When Jesus is the center point of our lives, material things just start to dissipate. They don't have as much value. There's a theologian, his name is Matthew Henry. I'm going to read to you his commentary about these verses. He says, Christ knew that covetousness was the sin which most easily beset this young man. Though he had got honestly what he possessed, he could not cheerfully part with it. And by this want of sincerity was shown. Christ's promises make his precepts easy and his yoke pleasant and very comfortable. Yet this promise was as much of a trial for this young man's faith as the precept was for his charity and contempt of the world. It is required of us in following Christ that we duly attend his ordinances, strictly follow his pattern, and cheerfully submit to his disposals. And this from love to him and independence to him. To sell all and give to the poor will not serve, but we are also to follow Christ. The gospel is the only remedy for sinners. I love his take at the end. It wasn't just about giving. It wasn't just about getting rid of. So that's not what this message is about. It's not about getting rid of and giving more, but it's about getting our heart in a place where we are all in for who Jesus is. And then from that, the overflow of that, being truly content in the place that God has us and the relationship we have from him, I think naturally that will happen. That will be the overflow, is giving more. Way easier said than done, especially for this man who had acquired a lot, and that was what he focused everything on. Can we be content in just Jesus? I could end there. Can we be content in just him? We can. God desires relationship with us. That's the foundation of this. He wants to know us more. He wants us to know him more. He wants us to be in perfect relationship with him, and he's made it completely possible. He's done everything he can to make it possible for us to know him more. And I may not have had as much experience in this area as some of you, but I do, and I have seen out of many things money cripple relationships. The greed and the lust of money destroy families. It's terrible, isn't it? When money comes between people or a family, and how it instantly divides because they thought they should have that and they desire this. You see this a lot with the death of a grandparent, and all of a sudden the will comes through and the thought of the money they were supposed to get, they had been desiring for many years, was not passed down to them. All of a sudden, relationships done. They're not content. Money is not a thing, or money is a thing for those people. God wants us to be in a place where we are always content with him, and our utmost desire is a relationship with him and a growing relationship with him. Hebrews 13 verse 5 says, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, nor will I forsake you. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 8 says, and God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. Have you ever been in a place in life where you had very little? What does that do for your faith? It usually increases it. I have a little bit of experience like this. When I worked with YWAM for 4 years, I paid to volunteer. For a young 20-year-old guy who all his friends are going to great universities and hopping into their great careers, it was very challenging for me to pay to work very hard. Fundraise to work. So I lived on, for those years, very little. Were they some of the best years of my life? Absolutely. Did I see God work in ways that I've never seen before? Absolutely. Did I see money come continually through God's faithfulness? Absolutely. And I'll never forget those days, because they challenged me always to be content with who God is and not aspiring to just get stuff for yours truly, me. Because that's what the world was pushing me to. Could you be at a place And could you be content at living on 10% less than what you make? Could you be content at living on 20%, 40%? Should I keep getting larger numbers? And you're like, oh my gosh, no, don't say it. If you say the number, the Holy Spirit might convict me. You're like, no, don't say 60. But when you're content, that shouldn't be an issue. This message isn't to challenge you for like who has the greatest number they're giving. It's not a competition. But if you are honestly at a place, if you think about your life, your finances, and where you're at, if that question when I ask, are you content to live on 10% less, and it honestly challenged you, then let me challenge you some more. You should be content. That's my challenge. Very simple, but I can't say it any other way. We should be settled in our place, in our relationship with God, and that should be our priority, and that should be just the minimum we step into. And then see God work through that and do things in our life. And can I say, if you're not at this place, maybe you haven't found peace and security in Jesus Christ yet. That may not be for you, but maybe some of you here. Maybe like I said, I'm not the paid professional, but maybe you need to grow more in managing your money. But I'll let your money manager help you with that. Maybe there's genuine money, like poverty, or you're living on a lot less, but it doesn't disqualify you from still sowing and giving into, right? We constantly need to challenge ourselves in this way. And can I say, I was reading this passage about the rich young men, because the challenge is just put out for us. And I can't really dissect it anymore. But then it's up to us to then take it and go, I want to get myself to that place. And I myself am going to keep challenging myself to keep getting myself to a place where I am truly content with God. And no one is there yet. We all can grow more in this. In Matthew 19, that story, after Jesus said this to that rich man, he left. What a sad story. How many interactions did Jesus have personally with people in the Gospels, and the people left empty-handed? Very few. But this story, this account, he left with nothing. He left with his heart sad, very challenged. I don't know what happened after him. I hope he met another believer later. But then the disciples asked Jesus, well, how is it possible to be saved then? This man couldn't be saved. How is it possible? And Jesus says in verse 26, humanly speaking, it is impossible. But with God, everything is possible. And this gets me pumped. I've just been speaking at a youth camp, so I'm like high energy right now. But when I read this verse, it challenges me because I still have money issues. And guess what? So do you. It's saying, hey, it's possible. It's not possible through my strength because I like money too much. And we're working for money for yourself to pay rent, to pay gas. Gas is $1.55. Are you kidding me right now? And so look at it's all about money these days. And if we do this on our own, we're not going to be that good at it. Because we're working for this stuff, but we can do it through God. He's saying if you do it with me and through me, it's possible. And this gets me so excited because I would be the worst at this on my own. Most of my friends that don't know God, they have no clue in what it means to give until they see a dog that needs adoption and then their pocketbook's open. And I love dogs, but that can't be it. Come on. But then God invites us to be a part of something much greater. It invites our hearts to be at a place where material wealth is nothing. Material things are great, but they don't last. God challenged me a few years ago because I'll keep getting challenged this way, and I with giving, and I was pretty like holding on to my money a little bit too strong. Who's ever been in that place? My hand's up. 2 hands are up. We're just holding on to our cash. It's like, well, maybe I need to make more and then I can give more. That 10%, I get you, Landry, but I'm going to need a bump in my raise and then I can give. Come on, that's bogus. So I was getting to this way of thinking, and I wasn't making a ton of money at the time, but God said, take your tithe out in cash. I was like, uh-oh. And I felt to keep that cash in my pocket for that month. And then just to start giving it away to people as I saw the needs, but not people I knew. Because we love to be affirmed in our giving sometimes, don't we? We love that tax receipt, or maybe we love that, man, Landry's so generous. He gave me money sometimes, and then that makes me feel good, but it's not about me, is it? So it was so hard for me, you guys. I'm telling this story because of humility, that I'm not good at this, but I'm growing, and this cash was burning in my pocket. It doesn't matter how much it was. But then I started giving it away to people I didn't know, needs I saw as I was walking around. I was like, oh. And you want to know the outcome, don't you, when you give? You want to know your money's going, but see, wasn't my lesson. My lesson was just, it's just money. And it had a hold on me. And the freedom, so I started giving it away in $20 bills. $20. I was like, oh, $20, God, come on, that's a lot of money at a time. And as I gave away $20 and $20 and $20, I got freer and freer and freer of the cash. And it became more exciting and more exciting. Can you imagine going up to someone and say, hey man, I got $20. It looks like you have, could you use this in any way? They're like, $20? And when we're led by God that way, you should see how he works when we're led by our money and through him. Wow, it's powerful. This isn't thing any of you need to do. Just for me, it helped me be freed and be more content in my relationship with God. And let go of my drive to acquire more. It's possible with God. He made it possible for us, and this is the exciting part about this. I'm going to end my message, and I'm going to, with ending it, I'm going to bring a good friend of mine, Max, up. So Max, would you mind joining me on stage? We're going to transition into a little bit of an interview here. Max is going to come join me. His wife, lovely wife, Gayleen, is going to walk him up. If some too strong, or one really strong guy wants to grab this and move it, that would be fantastic. Who wants to flex their muscles and move this for me? That would be great. Max, welcome to the stage. I'm going to walk you over. You can back straight up, and then you can sit down.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some strong guys coming. There you go. Yeah, I'm going to take that. Thanks, guys. Just so you can see Max here. Max, I said this in the first service. Here's your microphone. I'm going to put in your hand once you. Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
You look great.
Oh, thank you.
How do you feel?
Wonderful.
Good. This is round 2 for me and Max together on stage. And to tell you the truth, I feel we should do this more often. We should maybe do a show or something together.
Well, it was a great sermon. You've already said it all.
Well, thank you. Now, we have Max on stage. If you don't know Max and his lovely wife, Gayleen, you are missing out. Because you need to know them, and you need to know their stories and the way they've purposed their life to follow after God. And I'm sitting here with Max because Max and Gayleen have made some clear choices in their life to be content with Jesus. And it reflects in what they've chosen to give in different capacities. That's why we're up here together. And I have a lot to learn from someone like Max. And young people, if you're here, you need to surround yourself with people who have more experience in these areas to learn from people like Max and Gayleen. Now, Max, can you first tell us, how did this start for you, this idea of being content with Jesus and giving back? Now, tell us what we did in the first service. Tell us how this journey started.
Okay. So
You'll put that mic just a little bit close. There,
okay.
that's
Yeah,
it.
is that good?
That's it.
Okay. Well, over 55 years ago, when Gayleen and I were getting married.
That's applaud to that.
Oh,
55
wow.
years. Oh my goodness.
Right. So both of us felt in our hearts that we should be giving 10% of our income for church or Christian ministry or whatever.
Yeah.
We did not have much income, so it was very tough to do, really, but we felt God was leading in this direction, so that's what we planned to do. After university, because of my eyesight difficulties, nobody wanted to hire me, so I was in a situation with a very low income. And one of the things Gayleen remembers just quickly is that in our first 3 years of having a financial plan, we spent nothing on clothing because we didn't have anything to spend.
Wow. Young people, did you hear that?
And she also remembers having so much to buy groceries every week, and when the total on the till got up to a certain amount, anything she had left over to buy, she had to put back on the shelf. So it was very tough, but God wanted us to do it, so we did our best to follow his plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that, Max, because what's fascinating about that, I find, and what, I don't know if you guys picked up on, is you didn't start giving when you had acquired more so you could give more. You started as a practice when you had very, very little, when most people would think you should save and not wait, but you started the practice of it early. And that is so encouraging, honestly, it really is.
Good.
And so in your heart, how has it meant for you to choose to be content in just Jesus? How has that looked for you?
Yes. So we had to learn about budgeting and a financial plan. And together to ask God and acknowledge, well, God, it's your money, not ours.
Wow.
So we really discovered that for ourselves, and we really concluded that for anybody, they could live on less, some 10% less, some 20%, or whatever. And we're told that all we really need is food, clothing, and shelter. So we know what things we spend above that. Landry gives us lots of things to reduce from our income if we wanted to.
That's a very challenging statement, Max.
Yeah.
So for me, that might mean I might not have as many mochas.
Yes, probably one a month would be adequate.
This is all shifted to me, and I appreciate that because I need it. All right. But I like what you said there, that there's some things we actually need, but it's amazing. Once we look at it, a lot of things we're spending money on, we can do without. Once we break it down. And you mentioned, so you're saying, do you think and have you seen in this whole process of these 55 amazing years, probably full of stories, have you seen it possible to live on 10%, 20%, and whatever it is less?
Yes, absolutely. I must admit, though, as our income has grown and we've had much better days in business and finances, it gets easier to give more, to live on 10% less or 20 or 30 out of more income.
Wow.
But the contentment that you talked about is really there. It's quite thrilling, really, that when you have a financial plan, then the decisions are made. When something comes up, say, you deserve this trip to Mexico for $500, well, you can say it's not in our plan. You don't have to debate every item of expenditure as it comes along.
Yeah.
And like the neighbor who just bought a car with 3% financing and a $600 cash back, you can say, well, that's not what God is calling us to do, and we have our plan, and it's settled.
Yeah. So make a plan and stick with it.
Yes. So it's it really comes down to a choice. It's like
Yeah.
Joshua said, choose you this day whom you should serve. Well, it's kind of like choose you this day how to spend your money. That really, in summary, it's God's money, and if we go to him and ask how to spend it, he will help us decide how to spend it and help us
Yeah.
carry it out. And the reward then is to be happy in that. And the thrill of giving money away is just so exciting too. And just a little side thing is not
Yeah.
having so much stuff around to have to look after
Come on.
is kind of neat too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good practical. Max, this is gold.
Yeah.
So how can you encourage us, just to finish, how can you encourage us to do this?
Yes. Well, if God is touching you as to the idea of living on your less of your income, you just start to do a plan. Your income is set. Here's the things we have to have. Here's things we could do without. And you'd be amazing how much that amounts to. And then you just choose to do that, and you do it, and the rewards are thrilling, and you'll be very delighted, and the others that you're helping, it just encourage you. So thanks for asking, Landry. My pleasure.
Max. Wow. Yeah.